everybody, back with a brand new Cabral Concept. Today, of course, I'm sure is going to be a controversial topic, but truthfully, it shouldn't. The only reason why topics like this are controversial is because so many people are so dug into what they stand for or what they believe to be the truth. The problem is with the truth, it changes based on who and what are we talking about, right? So let's take a low carbohydrate or a keto-based diet, for example. So many people out there want to say, all keto bad, all keto good, everybody should be on a keto diet. I'll tell you right now, a keto diet is absolutely detrimental to many individuals. Some people it could be beneficial for if we're talking about a lower carbohydrate diet, not all just bacon and cheese, and we'll talk about that as well, and how we have a longer term plan to move this person back to metabolic health, right? So let's look at, though, a keto-based diet. Just a quick summary for those that are not as familiar with it. It is not, a keto diet is not adding exogenous ketones to your body. You can, I'm not saying you can't, that is not true ketosis. True ketosis is when you put your body in a state of ketosis based on low carbohydrate intake so that your body needs to switch its fuel source from glucose or carbohydrates and fat metabolism to predominantly ketone-based energy supply. And so when we look at this, we say, how does that typically happen? Usually it's sub 30 carbs, sub 25 grams of carbs or so per day, with the majority being from fat, 70 plus from fat. The issue that we see is, again, this isn't a true keto diet. A lot of people are eating massive ribeye steaks and high protein and all of that. One is that's really detrimental for your body because you're like half in keto, half not, because you're taking in very low carbs, but you're also taking in too much protein. And the protein that is being converted over through gluconeogenesis to an actual carbohydrate-based fuel source or glucose-based fuel source. It's not ideal for your kidneys. It's not ideal for your liver. It's not ideal for your lipid profile. So if you're going to do keto and you're going to do low carb, then follow an actual keto-based diet. And in my opinion, if you want to do it the healthier way because you're looking to work on specific issues, which for a short period of time might be beneficial, like your liver-based issues, although we could kind of go back and forth on that, PCOS, cancer-based issues, especially brain-based cancers. There's a time and place for everything. For a shorter term cyclical-based low carb, we do it for 21 days with our functional medicine detox, but it's only 21 days, and then we start to integrate healthier foods back in. But what I want to share with you is this. If you're following your favorite, social media guru and they're just saying, every day I eat a massive block of cheese and red meat and bacon and whatever, that is not the healthiest way to do a low carbohydrate diet. You can still get in plenty of plant-based foods. Again, I'm not saying that you can't eat meat and eggs and good, healthy, quality food. But you can also get in fiber from very low carbohydrate sources, like some leafy greens, cauliflower, items like that. So you're not totally devoid of fiber. If you are, that does shrink your gut microbiome and can increase all-cause mortality. I've showed that many times. It can disbalance or imbalance, create dysfunction with your blood pressure, with your blood sugar levels, and it can cause issues with your lipid profile as well. And again, yes, it can if you're lowering your total fiber intake. So just be careful about that. Your fats don't also have to come completely from animal-based proteins. They can come from extra virgin olive oil, which is undisputed as one of the healthiest fats in the world. It is a monounsaturated fat. Again, you can find faults with polyunsaturated fats. You can find faults with saturated fats. Hard to find faults with a monounsaturated fat, such as those from extra virgin olive oil, obviously cold pressed, organic, single source, high polyphenol, that's the best. Avocados, amazing. And also a couple other items like macadamia nuts can be quite beneficial too. Some people want to include a little bit of coconut oil, especially if there are some gut imbalances. You could certainly do that, although I wouldn't say that that's going to fix the underlying root cause. All right, so we're going to keep it at that for kind of like diet basic, but lots of shows on low carb diets. I'll try to link them up here today at stevencabral.com/3505, especially if you're looking to lose weight. We can certainly help you do that in a healthier fashion. But what I wanted to share is why it's not a good diet for every body type. So the main body type that will have the most dysfunction around it, there's actually two. The first one, though, is the Vata body type from Ayurveda, or the Ectomorph ectomorph body type if you're talking about kind of overall somatotypes. What is this body type? It is a body type that burns through fuel very quickly. Their individuals are naturally thinner, harder to put on weight. Oftentimes, they're a little bit more higher to anxiety, sometimes imbalanced sleep, higher sympathetic nervous system, more restlessness, and they burn through carbohydrates and have no issues burning through those. These are not the individuals that you typically see with a high hemoglobin A1C, showing blood sugar imbalances, and they do actually better with carbohydrates because it lowers their cortisol levels. It lowers their sympathetic nervous system dominance, it calms their anxiety, and it actually helps them sleep at night. When you have these individuals go low carb, and I'm putting this in air quotes, burn, fat as fuel, they're always burning fat as fuel. That's why they're so lean. They're burning fat, they're burning carbohydrates, they burn through their calories very easily. It's the individuals that you might have as a friend that can literally eat basically whatever they want. It might not be the healthiest things, but they can eat whatever they want. I'll put that in quotes as well. And they don't gain weight. Right? It's much more challenging for them. That is the Vata body type. That is the ectomorph body type. If you put them on a low carb diet, they are going to suffer higher levels of anxiety, restlessness, poor sleep, sometimes hyperactivity. They move into a bad spot, and they also start to lose more and more weight. So these individuals, very detrimental for them, especially if they do any type of athletics. They need carbs for their fuel source. You'll be doing them a disservice to remove those complex carbohydrates. Now, it doesn't have to be grains if you're someone that likes to be grain-free. It's just root vegetables. You could add in sweet potatoes and parsnips and rainbow carrots and cassava and beets and all those great things as well. So that's fine. All right. One other group of people that we see in our practice, and this is backed up by tens of thousands of stress, mood, and metabolism labs that looks at estrogen and progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, cortisol levels throughout the day, thyroid, etc. So these are individuals, it is mainly women, and lower levels of carbohydrates for a period of anywhere around 4 to 6 weeks. So longer than 4 weeks. Typically, they don't need longer than 6 weeks to see the detrimental effects. They end up with symptoms, and again, it is more women than it is men, at least twice the rate that we see. It causes more lower mood, poor sleep. Again, a lot of the same symptoms as moving into high Vata, but what we actually see is they then start to gain weight. So they actually start to have lower thyroid-based symptoms and sometimes irregular menstrual cycles for women. What does that look like? Well, it often looks like, again, low mood, brain fog, weight gain, thinning hair in the top of the head, dry skin, poor circulation, cold hands, and cold feet. These are not the individuals that we want to push to low carb. Also not the individuals that we want to push to do cold plunges, right? Because a lower carb or cold plunge, what does it do? It pushes more adrenaline, norepinephrine. These individuals do not need more of that. It is detrimental to their central nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. Again, I'll be talking about more of this in the future, how to personalize your own routine. I have a book coming out quite soon talking about these topics, and it will just demystify this, but definitely stay tuned. All of it is obviously free on a daily basis on the podcast, but this is why it can be so detrimental. Now, in general, I want to leave one more note, is that carbohydrates vary per individual. If you're someone with a high output and you're an ectomorph or Vata body type, you need far more carbohydrates. I mean, I've had clients with 400 plus grams of carbohydrates per day. That's way too much for the average individual. The average individual might need 75 to 125 grams of carbohydrates per day. Some might need a little bit less for a certain period of time, and some might need a little bit more. It really depends on age, exercise level, activity, body type. The endomorph body type or the kapha body type in Ayurveda, they need less carbohydrates. They store more fat for longer term fuel. They're typically not able to eat as many total calories, and they need to move their bodies more. They're not as sympathetic nervous system dominant. And so they actually need to push themselves a little bit more in that direction, maybe with sauna, cold plunge, lower carb, higher intermittent fasting on certain days. So you can see there is no one formula, one size fits all for each individual, but there's also not a million formulas. You find the formula based on your unique constitution and also where you're at right now in life. If you're dealing with lower thyroid, you don't want to do a 5-day water fast, right? Like that's just going to drive your metabolism down even lower. and you're going to feel worse. Could you do a functional medicine detox? Yes, with a longer term plan to then start to reintroduce those carbohydrates. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, it was meant to be the beginning of a discussion. I'm always happy to hear your comments, always happy to help in any way that I can. You can even submit your question. If you have a question for me, you can do that at stephencabral.com/askcabral, and I'll answer those on the weekend Cabral House Calls. Take care, buddy. Have an amazing rest of the day. And of course, share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Also, if you're interested in Ayurveda, head to stephencabral.com/3505, and I'll link up all the Ayurvedic-based shows. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.